Let's be good.
Just wanna-
Okay,
I'm freezing.
getting there. There we are.
Okay. Go ahead, open it up.
Okay. Being a quorum, the chair opens the August 28th, 2023 meeting of the Community Housing Committee, excuse me. And I'm going to call a roll call. Marcia, are you here?
Don't see her on the internet.
Myra, are you here?
Yes.
No, Marcia, I thought she was up there. Lee, are you here?
Lee Hamilton is present.
Excellent. Lorraine Doyle, present. And Drew?
Present.
Excellent, we got quorum. This is to formally advise that as required by MGL Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021, as extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, the Community Housing Committee will hold a public meeting at the time and place stated herein this notice. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via the Zoom link published on the agenda with the town clerk and on the town's website with a minimum 48-hour notice to the public. This meeting is being broadcast live and being recorded. And as our first order of business,
Madam Chair, I would just like IT to promote Joshua Trott as a panelist.
say again?
Joshua Trott is on, and I,
Hello, Joshua.
oh, good, he's going up as a panelist. And Pam is here with us.
Can't see him at all.
Well, his name is there now.
Yeah, oh, there it was, the white
Here he is.
figures, okay.
Joshua Trott, live and in person, very nice. Very good.
Okay, sorry. So, your first order of business is minutes.
Yes, my first order of business is hello, Joshua. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
And Pam.
Oh, and Pam, where are you? There you are. No?
She's clicking to join.
There
Oh,
you
there
are.
she
Hi,
is.
Pam. Good to have you
Hi.
here.
Thank you.
All right, first order of business is minutes. I'm looking for my agenda, and we've got minutes galore here, so let's get going on it.
2 minutes of June 12th and July
Here, you want an
10th.
agenda? I have an extra copy of the agenda.
Yeah, I've got it here,
Right
but it doesn't list the dates of the minutes that I want, so.
Yeah, I don't know if it's listed yet.
You know, we're working this system out, so that's why it's going that way.
Marcia.
Oh, there is a seat there, okay. So Marsha Bissell has just joined us.
Is there any way that has to be specifically noted?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the agenda. Okay. But we don't have dates on there. It would be nice
Okay.
if we did. Okay, and the first minutes are July 10th.
What, I think it's 12th?
I've got
Oh,
July
excuse me,
10th here.
I'm sorry, yep.
June 12th.
June 12th and July 10th.
I've got July 10, and I've got June 12. That's absolutely right. The chair will entertain a motion to approve these minutes as written.
I move to approve the minutes of June 12th as written.
I second that motion.
Okay, and we'll take a roll call vote.
So going to June 12th first then.
Yep.
Okay. I haven't read them yet, but I'm sure they're fine.
Marcia, Myra.
I, Myra Sahenich.
I'm Marcia Bissell.
Okay, and Myra, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, Leah.
I, Lee Hamilton.
Okay, Lorraine.
What do you
The-
vote?
The minutes are accepted as written.
Aye.
And we've got July 10 now. Any comments, changes, remembrances? Okay, Drew, what do you say?
I move that we accept the July 10th, 2023 minutes as written.
Excellent. I need a second.
Second.
I got a second
From
from Myra.
Thank you.
It wasn't only my eye, apparently. Drew, what do you say?
I vote aye.
You vote
Yes.
Okay.
Affirmative. Aye.
Lee, I vote yes.
excellent,
Myra, yes.
excellent.
Marcia, yes.
Yes, well done. We have the meeting minutes taken care of for June 12th and July 10th. The next order of business is membership on the committee. Okay, and the first topic is Lee. And her reappointment to the Community Preservation Committee.
So we've been contacted by the committee staff person.
Lee.
Lee, L-E-E, Lee, not Leo.
No, I can see it too.
So Dawn Marie Flett, who is the staff person for Community Preservation Committee, contacted us asking if, who did we want to reappoint, recommend being reappointed to the Community Preservation Committee. Lee is currently our representative on that committee, and we do need to have a vote.
I nominate Lee.
Does Lee want to be
I
nominated?
cannot second it, can I? As the chair, I can't
shouldn't.
second it.
No,
Yeah.
not,
So I need a second on that?
I second.
Okay. And now I need a vote.
and Lee accepted the nomination?
She
And
did.
Yes, I
so the
did.
committee has
My first year was a
accepted the
learning
nomination.
lesson. My second year, I'll be a little more experienced. So, if I get approved.
That's right. I don't know if we
So
can
I
lose you that
abstain.
way.
Don't vote on that.
I think you do too much work for them. Okay, I'd like a vote. Drew?
Yes.
Okay, Lorraine, yes.
Myra, yes.
Yes,
Marcia, yes.
thank you. We have it. Lee?
So Mary will notify the committees?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we have resignations and appointments that we need to bring up to date, all the committee.
So if I may, Madam Chair, so as you know, Drew Kraus has been elected a member of the Yarmouth Housing Authority.
Yeah,
Um,
Drew, good job.
The Yarmouth Housing Authority met in quorum and took an official vote to send him back to the CHC as their representative. So
Excellent.
now Drew has resigned his at-large seat on this committee, which
I get it. yeah.
opens up a vacancy. We have two members of the public that are interested in the at-large position. We actually have two at-large vacancies right now. Pam is here and Joshua is here. They've both interviewed with the appointments chair, Dorcas McGurran. And Dorcas is going to make her recommendation to the full select board. She also, I believe, interviewed John Barr.
I see.
So Dorcas will make her recommendation and accept the resignation at the same time at an upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting.
So it's likely in our next meeting, we'll know the results of that.
Hopefully, yes.
Excellent. Okay. Any other business about the committee?
So I think I've got that straight. So Palm and Joshua will both be members. Will be members of the committee once the selectmen.
There's,
Makes
right, so there's two vacancies, there's three engaged, interested residents.
I see.
So what I'm thinking will happen is like what happened before. If there's not enough vacancies for the people that are interested, there's appointments as full at-large members and then associate members
Right.
to kind of
Very good.
get everybody queued up. But hopefully, regardless of whether they're full members or associate members, hopefully they'll come to our working group meetings, which we need to
We
start.
like that, yes.
And there's two working group groups, there's housing production and outreach and education.
Okay.
Drew can no longer participate? Is
Nope.
that true?
No, I am still a member of this committee, but in a different slot, right?
Yep.
Is that correct way to put it?
Yep, the
Yeah.
planning board sends a representative. The housing authority sends an associate member.
Oh, I'm an associate member.
If
huh?
there's any
Working
vacancy,
group?
no, to the full
Yeah.
the full committee. If there's any vacancy, if there's anybody missing, you become a temporary full member.
Okay,
Ah, got it.
so, the full complement is 7, right?
Yes.
So if there's only, so if I'm needed to make up a quorum, then I would vote. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Got that straight? Yeah.
excellent. Onward. We've got new business ahead of us. Mary, will you bring us up to date on the 40B?
Right. So, yep. So normally we do new business and then old business, but you see under old business, the housing production plan, right? So a housing production plan is probably going to have to be modified based on comments from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
So, seeing that I have not, there's really no other initiatives right now in town except for Chapter 40Bs,
Okay.
right? So I kind of just made a list of addresses.
Right.
These could have been owners that have, or developers that have come into the Affordable Housing Trust, or the building department, or to my counter. They're not endorsements or approvals of Chapter 40Bs at these sites, but they're things that could produce housing.
Okay.
So those addresses are 77 Route 28 in West Yarmouth, and there's maps in here.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
91 Route 28, the corner of, no, it's 91 Route 28 and that next lot down, 26 Wynwood Way combined. 11 Barry Avenue is right now listed for sale, and the Realtor has been letting me know that it's being marketed, amongst other things, for a Chapter 40B. 1121 Route 28, that's the lot of land that Habitat has identified for 5 affordable homes, and the Affordable Housing Trust is helping with that acquisition. There's also 2 lots on Angus Ave, 17 and 27, that have been talking to the building department about developing, and Chapter 40B has been an option there. And then, of course, Zero Forest Road, which is the land owned by the Housing Authority. We just had a meeting, there was a public meeting last week. Was it last week or the week before? The week before, regarding that development, and that would be by Chapter 40B. So, lots in town, in Yarmouth, there's 2 major ways of permitting multifamily housing. One is through our local zoning. We have a motel bylaw and a village center overlay district bylaw that allows for multifamily housing. The other way is through Chapter 40B. And Chapter 40B, there are 2 big avenues. One is the project proponent goes to the state, they get their eligibility letter, then they come to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The other Chapter 40B avenue is called the Local Initiative Program, Chapter 40B. That's what most people in the industry refer to as a friendly 40B. And that kind of comes to this committee in the Board of Selectmen before it goes up to the state for approval. And it kind of gets battered back and forth from the state to the town, and you feel like you see it 50 times. But what happens is by the time it gets to the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is the ultimate say on these, it's had so much comment, and we've had so much time to look at it, typically they sail right through. So, and those are usually developments like Habitat and stuff like that. So, anyways, this is just like a beginning, these are the documents that if you want to get into more, you can find them. I can print them out for you. You can find them online and read them. But there is a Chapter 40B handbook for zoning boards of appeals. That's this corner right here. Oh, you have yours printed out.
Yeah.
That Mass Housing
Partnership.
partnership really does a lot of work with Chapter 40B. And so their handbook, it's for the Zoning Board of Appeals, but their handbook is pretty accurate. It's, it's spot on, and it's clear. So if you want to get more information, that's a good document to read. So I don't know if you want to go through any of these. We do have a gentleman in the audience, Steve.
Must be you.
And
Welcome to a
and
public
he's
meeting.
part of this team that was looking at 91 Route 28, 26 Wendwood Way.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to recognize, if you're comfortable coming up and talking about it, or we've said enough. Okay. Why don't you come up to the mic?
Over there, over there.
Parameters of what we're attempting to
Oh,
do?
he's got
Yeah.
him there, okay.
Sounds
For an
good.
example, so Steve, what's your last name again? Steve, it's Bo?
It's Bobola,
Bobola.
B-O-B-O-L-A.
Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background, in 2022, the Affordable Housing Trust put out an RFP for offering up to $500,000 for the acquisition of land. And Steve he works for Sand Dollar Customs, and they're a developer and construction company.
Yeah.
And they submitted a response. At the same time, so did Habitat for Humanity. They were ranked very, very, very similarly. Habitat just squeaked ahead. So, but the Affordable Housing Trust is still interested in working with Sandola, and this is the site that they've identified, 91 Route 28, 26 Windwood Way. So,
Give me just a place marker, what's close to it? What section of 28 is it on?
it's in West Yarmouth, and Camp Street is diagonally across. It's
got it.
Windwood.
Okay,
You know,
got it.
that's terrible
Oh,
intersection
got
of
it.
Camp Street and
Yep,
Windwood.
yep,
Windward
thank you.
Way.
Windward Way.
Okay,
Yes, Windward.
okay.
Okay,
Tell us
so,
more.
we responded to the RFP that the town put out for a grant towards acquisition of land. Also in that RFP, it requested, I believe, like 5 rentals at 80% in perpetuity, I believe. So we know the person that owns that particular lot on the corner. He actually developed I think it's the Hampton Inn, which is the big hotel right next door.
Right.
And we, spoke to him about potentially what we'd like to do for a redevelopment of that lot. So a little bit of background on that. When that was the old Cape Cod Vacation Condos, and Dave decided to buy the lot next door to put up the hotel, he was a little apprehensive about the reputation of Cape Cod condos. So he bought everybody out and he ripped it down. The town gave him, I guess, some resistance about being able to redevelop that lot as a separate piece of property. So there it sits with nothing on it. We did a lot of research and in conjunction with BSC Engineering, and we were able to determine that we could put 42 rental units on that piece of property. And we were going to offer the town 80% in perpetuity. The intent is a buy and hold. And of course, develop the site out properly. So it's basically an as-right project because we're actually reducing what the previous usage was. So it's a fairly straightforward project. So we've been kind of waiting a little bit. We did a couple of meetings with the town. The town requested some pre-engineering. We expressed our interest in being able to provide that, seeing as we've actually already kind of done that behind the scenes without spending the money. But we did express to the town that we were like, well, if we're gonna take 40 grand out of our pocket and this process takes another year, and then the town says, a year later, now we're gonna pass, then, we're out the money, right? So, we kind of requested that the town consider some type of grant for pre-engineering for, not only us, but other developers, right? And being able to help the town create the housing that's necessary. So the town did recently put out an RFP with that type of thing. So we put in an application for that. That's where we are right now. We are interested in, our company has traditionally been probably 80% residential, 20% commercial. But we're shifting our outlooks, and we're going more into the commercial side of the market now. We do multifamily stuff, we do steel buildings, whatever it is, build outs for medical complexes, things like that. So, we're shifting our focus, and we're gonna be going into these types of projects to build and hold. We've also looked at this Angus Way project, which those lots are up for sale right now. That's also preliminary engineering was done by BSC on that one. That's a potential of 24 units there. So that could be an additional 6 under a friendly 40B at 80%. We're currently working up a pro forma on developing that lot based on what we have for pre-engineering stuff. Currently, somebody else owns it and was thinking about developing it. And, that potential was this particular 24-unit project or 2 single-family homes. So, we have that, and then, I noticed that you have some other properties listed on this sheet, and we're certainly interested in learning about those. Interestingly enough, in the amount of time that we've been going back and forth on this Wynwood Way thing for well over a year now, we've just put the Trotting Park development up in Dennis, we put that under P&S, and we should be closing on that and starting developing that out. That's gonna be 24 units, so we're gonna hold on that one as well, once we have it developed out. My business partner, Rob Warren, spent 40 years on YPD. We built the Sean Gannon Center, the K-9 training building. Our management of that was pro bono to get that done. We are committed to the community, and, we're kind of saying, there's some of these projects that, you can just go right to the state and cut a lot of the red tape. However, it'd be good to have the town of Yarmouth have a seat at the table and produce quality housing, get quality people in there. I don't like to disparage anyone, but you know how it goes. You start getting very low income quotas and that creates some problems. So we see what's happening at the Yarmouth House right now, which is probably not going to be great.
Yarmouth House or Yarmouth?
Yarmouth House.
Yarmouth Resort? Is that what you mean?
Resort,
I'm sorry, Yarmouth Resort. Yeah,
Motel.
right next to the Yarmouth House.
exactly. Anyway, that's where we are in a nutshell. Anything I can elaborate on for that, either of those particular lots, or?
May I ask, if you develop, do you manage them as well, or does that get turned over to somebody else?
Yes, so the actual management will be turned over to someone else. So we have Bass River Properties is interested in managing. We have an employee on staff at our kitchen cabinet company that she's actually certified to manage. That's kind of her background from her earlier years. And we've gotten a couple other cold calls, so to speak, in terms of potentially managing it. Word seems to travel fast.
Now that you look deeply into the process and experienced bits of it, can you tell me if you can do it any faster than the customary pace? Can you develop livable housing 20% faster than anybody else?
Well, that's a loaded question.
It is. I recognize it's either time or money. I get that
Well,
part.
The permitting process, honestly, is the worst piece.
I'm
It takes the
totally with you.
longest. You know, we could have had that Wenwood Way lot probably all developed out by this point. So, you know, when you say, can you do it 20% faster than someone else? There's a lot of caveats to that question.
How do we make it better?
How do you guys make it better? Well, in terms of the development itself,
A
that kind
solid
of falls on
citizen of
us,
Yarmouth.
right? In terms of the town of Yarmouth, it's, you know, it's just how bad do you guys really want to get some development done, right? It's how quick can you get through the red tape? We were chasing, you know, like I said, we've been chasing Wenwood Way for, what, a year, Mary, or better? In the meantime, we're like this, so we went and signed a project in Dennis. But, you know, that's $5 million. It's gonna be, gonna be our build out over there.
You got pushback from the town in some way? Can you say what that is, without
Well,
being?
the funny thing is, the town put out the RFP, right?
Yeah.
So at the very first meeting, we were getting a lot of pushback on it. And,
Yep.
and we're like, wait a minute, you guys put out the RFP for this, and now you're coming at us like, you know, we're, you know, crawling out of the sewer or something. So I'm like, I didn't get it, you know, I really didn't get it.
We get it.
And the funny thing
To
is,
say the least.
they did, you know, they did a public Zoom like this.
Right.
Beyond that, and even people were calling in, you know, from out in the public, and they were like, why are you giving these guys a hard time? You guys asked for this development. And they just came to you with this particular lot. So there has been, I believe, there's been a little pushback from the Hyannis Park Association, which maybe initially they weren't really familiar with what our outlook was. I think, you know, anybody hears 40B and they're like, oh my God.
Yep.
But we're not looking to, we're looking to help the town create the housing, right? I mean, so what's the what was the numbers? About 200,000 year-round residents pre-COVID, swelled to 300,000 post.
Oh, I don't know. I
So
don't
we lost
know.
about 100,000 housing units in 2 years,
Yeah.
okay? And, you know, how does that work with the people that are trying to work here and live here year-round, right? So now they have no place to go, right? And we have shortages of people for the amount of population swell that we get in the summertime during the tourist time, right? And it's not affordable, right? I have a 4-bedroom home that I rent in Centerville, and I'm getting $3,700 a month, and I could probably get more, right? But that's a big problem, right? You need to, you know, somebody has to get proactive
Yes.
about trying to change the way things go. Like, I know the old Cape Cod way, you know, everybody wants to keep the quaintness and so on and so forth. But, you know, you have to realize that with the population that we have now, and even just pre-COVID, you know, that population is significantly more than it used to be when it was just a bunch of summer shacks out here, right? And we need, you know, we need the ability to have affordable spaces for younger people to stay here. You know, that's a big problem too, right? You know, and I'm not, you know, I'm not saying what's right or wrong or anything like that, but when you look at the demographic, even the board here, you're mostly older members, right? Because they're not attracting younger people here. And that's one of the big problems. Sustainability, right? How is the Cape overall going to be a sustainable place for business and for tourism if you just can't house the people that are necessary
You're
to
preaching to
host
the choir.
everything?
Yeah, these points are exactly the points that are living in my brain, probably everyone's brain,
Everyone on
very
this committee
actively.
agrees with you.
And they're not just notions, they, like, as you're describing them, these are the facts on the ground, so.
Right. So it's a matter of, you know, who's actually going to facilitate these changes and make things happen. You know, and unfortunately, over the years, the red tape just gets deeper and deeper, right? So part of my thought is obviously streamlining ways to make things happen. Because, you know, if we get 3-4 years down the road on one project, you know, you're already at a deficit. What's it gonna look like, you know, down the road? And Habitat's a great outfit, but you look at what the piece that they got, and how many units are they bringing in?
Well, they do home ownership.
Homeownership, yeah.
They do
So
home ownership.
it's a different dynamic.
So the trust awarded, you know, almost $500,000 to Habitat, but wanted to, was very interested in the Sand Dollar proposal. There were a lot of questions from the neighborhood, and it kind of seemed that Sand Dollar doesn't own the property. You know what I mean? So it becomes this kind of like balance. Well, how much do you want to make this applicant spend on a property they don't own to get the money to acquire it? So what they did was they put out an RFP for pre-development funds, up to $40,000, to assist during that piece of the development. So that's going to be, Sand Dollar's application for the funds is going to be before the Affordable Housing Trust on September 5th. So.
Are you committed to stick building, or are you considering alternative construction techniques?
So, good question. Obviously, a
Really
modular.
interested in faster.
Well, here's the thing, a modular configuration is more cost-effective and can be much faster.
Yeah.
If it's, you know, if everything lines up properly. The big problem that I see with that at this moment is that the new IECC codes are coming in January. I don't know that any of these out-of-state modular companies are going to be able to meet the criteria
Yeah.
that's gonna be required now.
Yeah.
Right? You know, part of this push and things that we're looking at in terms of these developments is the state has just created a green bank, right? Where they want to move forward with these net zero projects.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know, we're behind that. There's a company that holds most of the notes on that money that we're gonna be meeting with very shortly. They provide those funds up front. Prep, you know, EV ready, solar, full solar build outs, potential geothermal. And, you know, we're all about doing sensible things. At some point, obviously, we're a business. We have to make money, okay? And some of the things just become cost prohibitive, and you say, well, I'm just gonna scrap the project, because we just can't make $1 on it, right? But we're 100% on board with things that make sense. You know, it's obvious that the big push to all electric is gonna be problematic. Our grid's not gonna handle it. I know a lot of people inside Eversource, and they've already said, it's not gonna work, right? But this is the push being put on us by our United States government, and we're not gonna have a choice. So, you know, it's either get with it or you get left behind. So we're not one of the companies that are gonna be left behind. So we're actively investigating things that make sense. I think net zero and, you know, the future decade out, they're looking at negative net zero. Net zero is a great concept, right? It makes perfect sense. So we're in this for the long haul. But we can't do it by ourselves, you know. We need things behind us, you know. And when I say behind us, I don't necessarily mean funding, because we can find funding. But some of the caveats, you know, where you say, oh, we'll let you do this, but we want that, right? Those just add up in dollars. And so as long as we can find avenues to kind of, you know, finance these projects so it doesn't put us in the seat of bankruptcy, then it makes sense. We'll move forward on them. The big developers, you know, Dakota and Avalon Bay, those guys, you know, they want 500,000 units. They're not making any more land out here, right? So we have to look at these underutilized properties and manage them. And another thought I had on the town was like, we were talking about like this Route 28 Windward Way corner project and building that out. And then saying, you know, if we adopted, right now, we're proposing 42 units, which could be done in two buildings in the footprint, two level buildings, so they wouldn't be crazy. But there's a lot of push to go commercial first floor, residential second and third. So if we looked at that perspective and said, oh, okay, so to me, the thing that doesn't make sense about that is brick and mortar is way down. And, you know, you look up and down 28 and everything's vacant. So if you want to sit and say, okay, let's do commercial, let's do mixed use, right? Okay, so let's explore that. We do commercial space on the first floor. Then it would make sense for the town to create a program and say, hey, what's the businesses right around there? You got a package store, you got the two tattoo parlors, you got King's Coffee, right? Those are just a few that are immediately right there. And you say, okay, we build this out, and now you guys offer some incentives for those companies to move their businesses
Oh,
into
I
that.
see.
And you now, on the backside of that, you now take those properties, and now you can redevelop those and create more housing, right? This is how you get to where you need to be by being proactive.
Yep.
You know, what's going on in terms of saying, you know, let's redevelop and do this mixed use, it doesn't make sense where we are. It just doesn't. There's too many empty buildings down 28, right? So that perspective, where it might work in some areas, isn't working right here. But it could work if there were a bit more thought put into the future of how the town gets redeveloped. So anyway, just my 2 cents.
Are any of these addresses on the new storage lying up?
Yeah. Yep. So, they all are. I mean, Angus is down the street from Route 28.
Okay.
The only one that's not is Forest Road. That would need a
Right,
line
yeah.
going up. But they know that, and are proposing an on-site wastewater treatment facility. It won't be as fine-tuned, it won't be at the same level as Yarmouth Commons and Yarmouth Gardens, but it'll be like an IA system.
I
It'll
didn't
be-
hear that presented at that hearing.
Well, I know that.
Okay, it was not. They talked about storage, which did not make, septic rather, which did not make neighbors happy.
Laura said something like,
We're talking about the forest development, which
she
is
said
the,
something like there were no plans to hook up to sewer.
oh, they're not on the
sewering
line,
this-
they're not in that
this
area.
method. I think that line would go up there in 20 years or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty simple, you know, that's in a phase of the sewering that won't happen for 20 years.
Yeah.
But those phases aren't set in stone, you know.
I
It's
get
not
that,
like-
but still.
It's not like part of the US Constitution. It could happen sooner.
Oh, here we go.
It was decided that it should happen sooner. And, but until it gets sewered, until that happens, why, there would be a septic system that complied with the brand-new requirements of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is,
They did not
Pretty
talk about a
stringent.
wastewater treatment system. At least at
Yeah,
that hearing,
well-
that did not come up,
It'll be an IA system.
okay?
It's gravity fed, but it doesn't get, There's some enhancement, but not like our wastewater treatment facility
Okay.
that's being built. Not like the one that's at Yarmouth Gardens or Yarmouth
Good.
Commons, which really pull out, it gets the nitrogen down to a lower level.
Right. And that was all
I don't know if
concerns
what-
of
yeah,
the
I
neighbors.
think that, let's just hold off on what all that means, yeah. I'm not really
Right.
clear on what you're saying there.
We need to,
Well, I don't want to
But
distract
let's
from
go
this
back to
discussion.
This gentleman
Yep.
here.
Yes, sorry.
so just one more question, and you are free to go at any time. That view that you have of building multiple units for people who may or may not be able to pay as much as the going price in Yarmouth can often be confused with, oh, we don't want those people here. How do you address that?
So there's multiple tiers in the.
I mean, you've got design, you've got communication, you've got a gazillion different ways to go at it.
Correct. So there's,
Many tools in your toolkit.
so if we were to bypass the town and go to the state, there's potential requirement to pick up maybe 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%. In terms of median income, okay? If we go friendly 40,
Yeah,
we keep that minimum at an 80% level.
yeah.
Right? And based on there being 42 units and intermingling 12 units of a lower income standard, it kind of sets the precedent where people are more apt to be held accountable. If you take a large-scale project and you put in, let's say 100 units, and maybe 50% of them are at 40%, and maybe the rest of them are at 60, the level of accountability is minimal at best, because you have nobody setting the standard, right? It's kind of like being taught by your parents when you're a kid. Values, morals, things like that, right? Respect. If you grow up learning it, that's probably the practice that you follow as you go down the road. So when you, and I use this comparison not to disparage anybody, but history shows us that, a lot of people are not very scrupulous when they're getting housing for almost free. And there's a lot of problems. We see it all the time, right? That's just a fact.
Of course you do. Yeah.
So, part of this development process is trying to commingle people together. So there's an element of accountability, and overall, it's better for the community as a whole, right? It's opportunity. That's what it is.
But doesn't some of that depend on a good management system as well?
Sorry?
Maybe,
She said, doesn't some of that depend on a good management system as
Yes,
well?
right,
We didn't hear
yes,
what you were
correct.
saying here.
when they built the development on 28, and I think it's West Dennis near the Shoemont there,
Yeah.
originally had a difficulty with the management, and they had difficulty in that complex. And then once they straightened that out, I believe things substantially improved.
That's what the town has identified, because we brought on several developments, Simpkins School, Yarmouth Commons, Yarmouth Gardens, and it was not mixed income, it was all lower income. And that was pinpointed as something that was critical for the
Right.
success of those developments. And we learned that from the developers. They were like, oh, don't worry about that, because we've got such great management. We deal with all those issues. So that's, the town meets with these management companies every once in a while. We reach out to them, we see what's going on, how everything is going. If there's a problem, we call a meeting with everybody, like, in town, like the fire department, the police department, the health department. So, but yeah, good management is key.
Correct.
Yeah, without
And
question.
we're due for a mixed income development. We're due for one that has 75% market rate, 25% affordable. We haven't had one of those in a long time. So,
It's been delightful having you here. Come back.
Yeah, so Steve got invited because the people that I talked to about all of these,
Right.
I put on our, I let them know the address was on the agenda, just so they wouldn't be surprised. So Steve came voluntarily.
Thank you.
Other people were kind of like, you can come if you want, but I really appreciate you coming. I think that was really helpful.
Yes, thank you.
You know, and it's just, this is where our level of commitment is at. You know, we want to be tied into this thing, and you know, it makes sense. And sometimes it's just about doing the right thing in your community, not being forced to. So that's where we're hoping to help achieve, you know, something positive.
We appreciate that.
That's
Yeah,
all I can
thank
say.
you.
Oh, and here my partner walks in.
We're done. We solved everything.
Put a fork in it.
Thanks. It's done.
Been nice chatting.
And you can come and introduce yourself to the committee if you want. I mean, you came here. Right?
Good afternoon, I'm Rob Warren, co-owner of Sandala Customs. Whatever he did, I support.
Maybe not.
But it looks like you're interested still in the 91 Route 28 Wynwood Way and also that Angus
Yes,
Ave.
Yeah.
So,
There's some other potential
okay.
addresses here on the list as well that we don't know very much about.
right.
These are other potential,
These are other addresses that have contacted the town in some way, through the building department, through my office, through the town administrator's office, like somehow, the housing trust. You know, it's just a list. We're gonna update our update to the housing production plan. And we need to kind of add some different addresses in our production list, so.
Okay. Well, we're excited about, like, this is definitely what we want to do. I mean, we know there's a need, and we want to try to help with that need.
We're with you on that.
I told them we have to actually make some money too, though.
Right.
No, and it's, you know what, we're trying to forecast this, and I don't see it getting better, I see it getting a lot worse.
Uh-huh.
Now we have competing interests with the state on issues, so we're bringing, you know, more housing needs to the Cape, so it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better.
Right. And our Affordable Housing Trust might end up being extremely important in that effort.
For sure.
Sometimes it's great to get the federal and the state money, and sometimes it's good to keep it all local.
Yep.
So,
And that's another piece of the puzzle too. We're gonna be employing all local people. So the money goes right back into our economy, not Boston, Connecticut, New York, you know, where all these guys are coming out of trying to take everything over.
now you have other rental units on the Cape, right? Yeah.
Here and there, yep.
But none in Yarmouth? Wow, we got to get together on this.
No, not, I
No,
don't
and we
believe
have
so.
Bliscott, but that's not ready yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we bought a property over on Bliscott, which is the next street over from Angus.
Right.
So we're just, once again, waiting for the bureaucracy, so we can get permits to take that house down and redevelop the one-bedroom into a three-bedroom, so we can get that back up on the market.
So that will be a privately owned, not
It was a little 500 square foot shack with a failed septic system.
500 square foot. I lived in one of those ones, I think.
Yeah, you know, and, right, so redevelop it,
Right?
get a family in there, right?
The plan, right, the plan now is to rent it.
Oh, it is.
To build and hold and rent it.
That's great. That's really great.
Happens if we sell it, it's gonna go to an off-Cape family who's gonna use it as a summer home,
Right,
and it doesn't do anything for Yarmouth.
that's right.
Okay.
So that's what we have to offer, hopefully.
We thank you.
That was really great. Thank you for coming in.
Very welcome.
Take care.
Okay, have a great afternoon.
Looking forward to hearing more about you soon.
Yeah, well, we hope we can, get some collaboration going and move it off of the,
We'll see what we can do, yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you,
So,
Mary.
Mary, I
That
have
was
a question
interesting.
For you. Do new developments have to go all electric, because they're not doing gas?
Oh,
and so many-
interesting. Yeah.
And in any large developments, I know they can't install gas anymore, it has to be electric.
Yeah.
And this is one of the issues about, can the system handle all the electricity?
Yeah, that perked my interest. I
Right.
need to research what
Because
that really
he
means.
brought that
yeah.
up, and it came up at another thing, another place I was at. But I know that they're not allowing gas in larger developments now. If that's a 42 unit or whatever, I don't know.
I think it's all market-driven still. I don't think there's I don't think you're prohibited.
In some developments, I believe you are. I think you're
Is that like a
prohibited from
rule in
installing gas.
Boston? I think there's some places, yes.
Boston, yeah.
I don't know how they've done their ordinances, but they've banned new construction with gas, but
Correct.
I'm not sure
Did I
that
hear right
that's here
that
on the Cape.
he
Okay.
was saying that to access some federal funds, they were pushing you to adopt all
He
electric?
says there's the Green Bank, which I don't know
Right.
much about.
Right, I don't
So
either.
it sounds like there's money, but he also it sounded like there was a lot of rules.
There would be restrictions that would probably include not installing gas.
So, right. So see how we might need to, for something smaller, we might need to subsidize it locally and only locally.
I see.
And that's our zoning, or Chapter 40B that's really close to our zoning, plus the Affordable Housing Trust.
And I do know that I believe the Habitat, all the new productions have solar.
Yes.
Have what? Solar.
Solar.
That's what I thought you said. Okay.
So those, I have 6 bullet points on there, and that we'll use when we talk about our HPP, which is coming up under old business.
Well,
I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to say
Sorry.
something.
Okay.
I had a question for you, Mary, and that was the affordable housing standards. And a question mark after that. Is that like an entity that I need to pay attention to?
Yeah, so I didn't put
Or-
them in the packet. I forgot to put them in the packet. So anyways, we have affordable housing standards, which I will email out to you. I don't think they're in your packet, so
Okay.
we need to, that's an action step in our HPP, is to look at those.
Okay. We need to have it then.
And
Yeah.
I apologize for that. So they say things like, you'll see. They say things like, the town promotes mixed income developments.
Yeah, got it.
like he's talking about, for example.
Right. So we set that as a standard a long time ago, and we haven't gotten one. So it's a policy, it's a standard, it's not a
Okay.
bylaw
Just
or a strict
Tell me
requirement.
where do these standards appear, in what documents, in the,
Yeah, it's a Board of Selectmen policy.
okay,
Okay.
They were last updated in 2014.
and they're just sort of
that's a
floating
long
around as
way.
a
So I
policy?
have to email them to you.
Website.
Yeah, they're on the website, right. And so the one thing that I thought that we should change is the market rate
Would you say
rents used to be
2014?
much, much lower
Yes.
Long time ago.
than the ones that the state allows. So under Chapter 40B, the state has a formula to calculate rents, which feel a little high. So the town used to say, okay, those are too high for us, we're gonna go for the federal fair market rate rents, the Section 8 rents. But those are starting to creep up too.
Yep.
So Barnstable requires the rents to be affordable at 65% of the area median income,
Okay,
not the 80%.
Okay.
okay.
So there's a drop. So that was the big change. Unless there's something else in there you see that we should, you know.
Okay.
The other thing that's in there is like minimum design standards, like the units have to have counter space in their kitchen. They have to have a stove and an oven. Because we were getting little tiny units, either sheds in backyards
Yep.
or old hotel units
Yep.
that were getting converted.
Yep.
And we were saying, wait a minute, there's no counter space in here. You can't just have a stove in the middle of, you know what I mean? And that stove can't be right next to a wall because it'll catch on fire. You know, there was like some standards we put in there so that you know, the building department, the health department do a pretty good job, but don't come to us with an affordable unit that's really substandard.
So I think you're saying that you might recommend that we,
I want you to read them.
that we read these standards and make certain recommendations to update them, the
Yep.
standards? Is that what you're
Yep.
saying?
And
Okay.
then the one
Excellent.
piece I really think we need to focus on is what's really an affordable rent to our residents.
Yes.
And you're suggesting that the Barnstable idea might be a really good idea for us
Yeah,
to
they're-
adopt,
They,
possibly.
they have a commercial bylaw, a commercial to residential bylaw, where people can redevelop commercial property into residential units, rental units. And those rents have to be affordable to 65% of the area median income. And I've been helping them with their lotteries,
I see.
and they're getting people for those units.
Well, some of the rental requirements and all that really is gonna depend upon the area. I mean, there are parts of Barnstable, especially when you're talking about revising an industrial area where you might get away with the rents being lower, but there are parts in this area where you're not gonna get away with that. You're not gonna be able to make those viable units.
Because of the owner won't be able to.
No, just my sense is that for rentals and things like that, I don't know how to explain it. I just think that sometimes the lower you go isn't necessarily such a good thing.
Right, and I think that's why we need to have mixed income.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
Yep. So, sorry, that was a fail. I didn't give those to you, so we'll put those on for the next time.
Okay.
But I didn't fail with the HPP, if you'd like to go forward on that.
I'm obviously avoiding it. We have some old business to attend to, and that is the HPP. And Mary, are you going to update us, or are you going to tell us what you want us to do for
So
you?
there's two things in your packet.
Yep.
One is a one-page, and these are from the HPP. This is page 8.
Yep.
It's the summary of housing strategies.
Yep.
Right,
Okay.
got it.
And so that's just an overview of all the different strategies that we're using to produce housing, market rate and affordable housing in town. The next one is stapled, and this is the one that has by year, what we're gonna produce and where we're gonna produce it.
Right, strategies by year.
Okay. And so, we went before the Board of Selectmen and presented the HPP. Excuse me. We got, some, I think one of the overall comments we got from multiple members of the Board of Selectmen was that they were uncomfortable with Forest Road, the Forest Road development being in the HPP.
I remember that. That was a while ago.
What was their reason?
They are, they're concerned, they share some concerns of the local residents. from the abutting neighborhoods.
And the local residents are worried that their basements will flood.
It's water. It's water. Will development at this parcel lead to flooding outside of that parcel?
Well-
And would the wastewater and the stormwater from the development negatively impact our drinking water? So those are two questions that have to be answered by an engineer. So, and I think if I have this right, and Drew, correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
I think Mass Housing Partnership, the person that was representing Mass Housing Partnership, acknowledged that that would be done as the development went forward.
Well, it's in an early stage. Do you want me to say this
yeah.
now? What they did so far is Mass Housing Partnership hired engineers to do what they call due diligence, to examine the property and see if the project would be feasible. And they had a young man there who is an engineer and who was in contrast to most of the people there, because he was in his 30s and everybody else was in their 90s or 100s, like me. And he described how a stormwater system could be designed to prevent stormwater from washing down into the nearby neighborhood. And he described how a septic system would have to be designed to follow the latest rules of the of Massachusetts. And he thought it was quite possible to do that, and he described why, right? And
Yes.
then
Yes.
it was said that when a developer makes a proposal, they will have all that stuff in their proposal, and if that proposal is accepted by the housing authority, they'll eventually have to go before the zoning board of appeals and whatever other boards to make sure that all these things are copacetic and are correct, done correctly. And that's really what the story is, yeah, as far as I know. The people weren't saying, oh, great, that's fine. They didn't really accept it, but that's the process that's going to occur.
So there's a rational process to follow,
Yes, of course.
and it's going to occur.
I think so, yeah.
Is there any way that can be sped up?
Not that I know of.
You can't do that till you have RFPs and your people come forward.
Yeah,
People come forward with projects, so.
right.
So that can't be done now. That has to be done when people
Make a
correct, am I
proposal.
correct? Yeah. When they make a
Right.
proposal and then they do
Developers
designs.
must make a proposal in
Right.
response to the request for proposal.
Correct.
The request
still
for
a work in
proposals
process.
hasn't even, no, this isn't going to happen for a while, Lorraine.
Yeah.
You're going to have to look elsewhere for super speedy things, but
There
I'm
won't
trying to
be.
do my bit to keep things on track and
Yep.
moving forward as best as
Yep.
I can, yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah, it's just a point of curiosity for me. What can we do as a committee that might speed it up 10%?
Nothing today, but maybe in the
5%,
future sometime,
you
yeah,
know?
right, when
What-
we get to a
let's-
further stage.
Let's use
Yeah.
our knowledge, let's put
Right.
our thinking caps on, let's ask questions about how can we make this faster? Because we have an urgent need.
Yeah,
People are sleeping in their cars,
Yeah.
which we all know.
we know.
People been sleeping in their cars and under boats and everything else in Provincetown. They used to be
Absolutely.
able to sleep in rest areas and they can't do that
They're
anymore.
doing it here. And so I'm sure we all care about that.
Yes.
And what we want is faster and better.
I was really happy that a lot of people came to the meeting.
Right.
We had several members of this committee that went to the meeting.
Yes.
All the selectmen were there. Bob Rittenauer was there, he was the
Yes.
town administrator.
All
And
but
all
Mark,
there?
Mark Forrest.
Mark
wasn't
For-
there. Mark Forrest
he- I-
couldn't go.
I know Mark was there.
Did
Did he?
during it,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, he did. Mark
I
came.
have a vision of
Sorry,
him
Mark.
walking in.
Yes, he
yeah.
did. He did.
Right, Bob Rittenauer was there, there were members of this committee there,
And it
I
happened.
haven't checked.
It happened.
See, part
Yeah.
of the thing about
You
me,
made progress.
yes,
Yeah.
and this is something that we had hoped would happen several months ago. And
Yeah.
for various reasons, it hadn't. So I'm glad that we finally made it happen, you know. Wasn't perfect, but at least we're over that hump.
On to the next one.
Yeah.
And so what does this mean for us with the housing production plan needing to have
Oh,
Forest
so-
Street taken
so-
out of there or modified, or
So
what's going on
if you
there?
look at, right, so, I think the Board of Selectmen just have too many questions, and they know that the neighbors have too many questions to list it in the HBP. So, what we have to do is strike that year one public land in West Yarmouth, that 45, and replace it with something else. So this is why I gave you the list.
Okay,
And
now I
year
get it.
one,
Okay.
45, that's not applicable anymore.
Yeah, we have to cross that out. If you, unless, I mean, it's up to you. This is your plan, right? You want to keep it in there, and workshop with the Board of Selectmen with it in there.
I thought he thought they made a suggestion how to reword it or something, so it doesn't look like it's under this committee's control, because it isn't, it really
That was
isn't.
the planning board's,
That was the planning board, okay.
right? The planning board said, oh, some of this might come before us. You know, so we talked to the state and they said, yeah, that's fine, you know, just reference it in a more general way.
Okay,
You know, if the planning board was uncomfortable with it. I don't think that's gonna,
fly with the board.
Myra, what do you think?
I think that was a mistake.
What was the mistake?
It was a mistake.
I have heard comments that the town was deliberately trying to not identify this particular project by changing the language. And now it says public land in West Yarmouth, and people had an issue with that, because before it said Forest Road. So it was.
So they had an
it's a
issue with it just saying
perception-
public
yeah,
land?
it was a perception that the town was being deliberately vague. And that came up.
Yeah,
Right, that's a big part of this, the whole situation is that kind of,
My impression is that there is a lot of distrust out there, and it's not, at this point, it's not even focused on specifics. It's a general feeling of distrust, no matter who's talking to you or what they're saying. A lot of frustration and not a lot of trust, and,
regarding this piece of property or anything, yeah.
yes. And so I don't know what we can do about it, other than keep presenting any factual information that we have, and just basically trying to continue all the conversations, more of these
right.
hearings perhaps, and just not
have a-
get defensive, like I think there was a little bit of defensiveness on the part of the consultant. I don't blame her a bit. I mean, it was a very difficult situation. I thought she'd handled it very professionally, but as it went on, I feel it was a little bit. And we just have to, all
Well,
of
it
us.
got really redundant.
Yeah, and I think we just, all of us have to keep our patience and understand what these people are feeling. And, just keep talking. That's pretty much it.
So what do you think the solution should be to that first line?
Do we have anything to substitute?
So the only other stuff we have is basically things in the Route 28 economic corridor. Which you get other pushback.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have an issue with that, 'cause I think Route 28 is gonna be built up so much that it wouldn't be my ideal place to ever live. I'm sorry, it wouldn't be. And when they talk about nice Cape Cod, I don't picture that as Route 28.
Well,
That's
Route
weird.
28 has not been a great place to be for quite a while in Yarmouth.
And that's where the redevelopment opportunities are.
Yes.
I know that, but
Yeah.
There's no big
So we have to make it
tracts of
beautiful.
residential land that aren't developed in town. Those
Yep.
are all gone.
well, first of all, they have this under year one. We know it's not gonna happen in year one, so.
Right. We basically have to bump that out to 2024, right? And
now.
then,
2025, what do you think?
yeah, well, they won't let us do it that far.
Okay.
But, And then we got our SHI numbers. She was
Yeah.
estimating,
Yeah.
and she got the real number. So some other little things had to get tweaked. But we can just kind of like think about this and workshop on it the next time.
Okay.
I think the big decision is, I mean, Dan Horgan, Selectman Dan Horgan talked about workshopping,
Yes.
right? So I asked for a date, I didn't get one.
It's a good idea.
Okay, so you think that we should write a memo to the Board of Selectmen and accept that offer to workshop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get him to commit to
Sounds like a
set up a
plan.
meeting
Yeah.
that we'll call the workshop number 1 or whatever.
And is this a public meeting?
Oh, yeah, and it'll be
That's what I
televised,
thought.
or it'll be open to the public, whether it's televised or not, I don't know.
Should we have a specific theme for workshop number 1, or is it
I think it
just a-
should be this. I think it
Yeah.
should be, you know, and I admire this, you know, yes, we want housing, we want it to fit into the town, we want it in the right place.
Yeah.
So this is what we came up with.
Right?
So, you know, if this isn't the right place, then where is the right place? And do we go forward with what we know what's coming on, or do we need to take additional action to put the housing where it's been identified as the quote-unquote right place?
Well, one of the concerns I had about the presentations, you're talking about a lot of houses in relatively small lots of land. So I don't know how, you're gonna have people who are gonna challenge that for these, different lots of land on Route 28. And
Right, so right now, our underlying zoning allows 16 units per acre.
Let's say that again,
16 units per acre.
16 units per acre, okay.
That's kind of what I use as kind of, now, you can't always fit that.
Right,
You have to have parking, you have to, the shape of your unit, of your lot, what's around it, what curb cuts you need, that kind of stuff.
right,
But they were able to exceed that at Yarmouth Gardens and Yarmouth Commons.
okay. They went 3 stories, right?
One of the buildings on Yarmouth Commons is 3 stories.
Okay, only one.
And they each have parking that's 1.5 spaces per unit. But it worked because they have units in there that serve extremely low income, right?
And they're on transportation line.
And right, they're on a transportation line. So extremely low income households don't always have the economic power to have a car.
Right.
3 or 4 people might have 1 car, yeah. Or no car.
So they were right. The developer was right. They were like, don't worry about the parking.
They knew from experience.
They
that
knew
was-
from experience, the parking was enough.
That's good.
So, but
All of those units are low income.
yes, and some of them are extremely low income, like 30% of them are at 30% of AMI.
Really, wow, okay.
So that's a household that's on Social Security,
Right, right.
so. All right, so we should have Lorraine do a memo to the chair?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
All right.
I'll try to keep my
Well,
politics
just the
out
memo
of it,
addressed
but I
to-
know I'll
It
get
gets
in there.
addressed chair to chair. About, the next steps.
Yep.
And that, you accept the invitation to workshop.
And ask for their input as to the topics and so forth.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
I'm sorry, I was writing, what?
The select board members that had concerns, they should be asked, do you have any specific topics you
Correct,
want to
yes.
cover? Or would you rather just do a general
Nice.
overview, or
Good job, Marcia.
we'll get their input?
It's Myra.
Myra.
It's me.
And I'm not Leah. You keep calling me that.
I need my M&Ms, really.
Well, we could keep a little list
Well,
of
we
where
can have-
name tags.
Housing
Okay,
committee
that's really
pseudonyms,
good.
you know?
Yeah,
can have our-
we have to do the workshops, because
Stage
that's how the
Very good.
housing plan's gonna move forward, right?
Right.
That's the only way to move it forward, because
Can they
that's,
hold on to it forever?
I don't see why not.
Well, it hurts
Doesn't
us
make any
because
sense,
we need to have
but
our
this is the
number.
way to go forward, because this is what they said. This is what Dan Horgan said, and he sort of took the lead on this idea, right? That's
Right.
how I remember the
And the
meeting.
consultant thought that
Watch was
all
telling
the
me a while
other
ago, I need to
comments
get up
could
and
be
move.
addressed.
It tells me.
Consultant.
So
I
Karen
forget her name.
Sonnenborg felt that all the other comments could be addressed. We might need to do a little bit more work on the impacts of Airbnb.
Yeah,
That's an emerging
yeah,
pressure
yeah.
in the area.
I mean, the impact of Airbnb on units now, not
Yep.
anything that we work on developing. Yeah,
Right, like if you listen to what Mark said, he really wanted us to identify Airbnbs as a barrier
right.
Good.
and
I
come
think
up
it
with
was at that
Facts
meeting.
are around those?
Airbnbs?
Do we know how many homes are
That's
being
exactly what
utilized?
he's asking for. I don't.
Well, I think some people, you're supposed to pay taxes on them now, so I think some people might do it under QT. Because aren't they supposed to pay taxes, pay toward the town?
Yes. Anything that's over, I think, a 2 or 4 week stay,
Right,
then gets taxed.
okay.
And that tax can go into a variety of different things, but Yarmouth chose to put it into the wastewater fund. But that could change at a different date, and it could go into the Affordable Housing Fund. We have plenty of money in the trust. We have, yeah, that's what we haven't had. We can estimate out how many units are being used like that, but there's different ways of nailing that down. And one of them is to have somebody just constantly on those apps
Oh, looking for them.
and looking for
Looking
them.
for them,
So if
yeah.
I go
Wow.
home and
What a job.
Google rental in Yarmouth,
There's-
Massachusetts.
But they have like these computer programs that
Oh, yeah.
mine that data,
Yeah.
and they just keep doing it, and I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know how that's done, but.
Well, some website posted my house and what it would sell for on the website. And another website posted everybody's name on the street and their age. And I live alone. You're gonna announce to people how old I am and I live alone?
Because it's a public record.
Well,
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
know. I
belong on the
agree with that.
web.
It's
It
public
really doesn't belong on the web. I was really upset.
Oh, my goodness.
So do you guys have enough? Do you need anything from me? Like, should we meet with Karen Sonnenborg before we meet with the Board of Selectmen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That would be, she'd appear on Zoom probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a deadline on when you have to get this report to
No,
the
it's
state?
out of date. So basically, we don't have a certified plan.
Exactly, that's what my question was gonna be. So
Yeah.
someone could do a regular 40B anytime they wanted to in the town of Yarmouth, and the zoning board of appeals would just have to accept it and review it and have very limited
Yeah,
say
yeah.
in what's gonna happen, because we don't have a plan, and it's not certified. That's my understanding.
Right.
Okay, so at the workshop, we want to say that up front. Don't forget, selectmen, this is the situation here.
Yeah, they
We
gotta
gotta,
pay attention.
we gotta get this squared away,
Yep. Yep,
Are
we
you
do.
aware of that, or they just?
right?
2 and 3, you got it.
Because as it turned out, they were like, well, we need to think about this. So that when we have the workshop, we have to say, okay, we're thinking about it, but we have to act,
Yeah.
in our opinion.
There's thinking and then there's
This is our
doing.
opinion.
Yeah.
It's gone to them earlier on? Is this like the second time around or something?
No, this is the.
Really?
Yeah, so, we were gonna do like a survey, update the statistics, do a survey. Mark Forrest asked us to do workshops with the community, which ended up being a really,
Yeah.
really good thing to do.
Yep.
And that caused a little bit of a delay. And then staff I kind of got I was doing other things, and then we came back to it. So we got it through the planning board.
Planning board in two meetings, if I remember correctly, right?
And then we really wanted that housing authority meeting
Yeah,
before the HPP was presented.
Okay.
And that never happened.
No.
We
That
kept
was
putting it off, and then you see it came up.
Yeah.
So, but we've had that meeting, and you just have to decide as a group if you want to keep Forest Road in the plan and jeopardize it not getting approved by the Board of Selectmen, or replacing it with something else.
what, okay,
think
what's
Forest
the
Road needs to be
crucialness of that being in there? I
Well,
get
it's nice
lost on
because
it.
it's,
Numbers.
45
Yeah.
units, but,
A hunk of people or units, you know.
But the town of Yarmouth doesn't have any control over how this is gonna go, right? Until it gets to the zoning board of appeals, right? Or am I missing
right.
something? Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any other avenue besides it going that way.
Yeah.
But remember, Lee talked about this to the planning board.
Yep,
It
yep.
was kind of like, you can't ignore it, it's coming, you
Yes.
know?
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you got them to because they wanted to pull it out too, and
I
you
see.
said, well, you can't ignore it, this is, and then Karen
Okay.
Sonnenborg was like, well, this is the list of things that we know about.
Right.
Right. This is a real thing. It really is a project of the real Yarmouth Housing
Right.
Authority. That's right.
Yeah, and it is gonna
This is why
happen
I
at some
asked the
point.
question, yeah. It is gonna happen, but they're uncomfortable with having it in their housing plan because it seems like
An endorsement.
an endorsement, and it's confusing to the public and all that sort of thing.
A lot of that I find superfluous.
Yeah, it's superfluous, but
Look up that word.
it should be.
I have a general sense
Besides
of what
the
it
point,
means.
yeah.
I struggled for a moment.
It should, it's not literally part of the town of Yarmouth's plan that they're actively creating, right? It's something that's happening
Well,
a
it's
little
this-
bit to the side.
But it's
So,
something
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
staff is not working on it.
Staff is
Do you
not
know what I
working on
mean?
it. That's
That's
the
That's a
thing.
really great point.
I'm trying to
Like the
define
habitat,
this properly.
the habitat
Yeah,
development, yes, staff is actually working on that.
okay.
You know, if Sandala goes through and gets support, financial support from the Affordable Housing Trust, yes, staff is gonna be working on
Okay.
that. If there's a a friendly lip chapter 40B, staff is gonna work on that.
Right.
But right now, Forest Road, staff is not working on it.
Okay.
If we took it out, would it be considered kind of disingenuous or, you know?
Sneaky in
other
some
words,
way?
Yeah, and, because, you know, first we had the renaming of the project in here, and, you know, then to take it out, taking it out, or at least out of 2023, helps to push the plan forward.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, but where would you put it? I mean, you could put it in a footnote. Oh, by the way, the Yarmouth Housing Authority
It
is
should
planning.
be in there somewhere, is my
Yeah.
sense, even if it is a footnote.
But I don't, it's all, a lot of it is the presentation, you know,
Have it in its own little category somehow.
how it's perceived,
Is
yeah,
what- It's what
yeah.
footnote means, yeah.
A different category, almost like
Have it sort of in its own
Other
little column or something.
proposed, you know, I don't know.
It's an associate project.
Good points, you bring up very good
Right.
points.
Right, there's a narrative on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
yeah.
narrative on it.
Yeah.
This is
And
its own
The
thing.
neighbors.
Here's what it
The
is.
neighbors suggested that narrative include
Yeah,
their objections.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That would be okay. If it's done in like just a neutral, bare bones way, because then they would go, okay, this isn't sneaky, right?
Maybe, maybe.
There are objections and ways that it might be addressed, because that
Yeah.
was addressed at that meeting.
Yes, that's a good point, yeah.
I think we're gonna have to have a working group on this alone.
Well, Drew's the liaison in between, you
Yeah.
know.
But
Yeah.
definitely a meeting with Karen, I think, would be really useful at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I can't remember if she did the,
By the way, the timeline that we have here is proposals a request for proposals would go out in February, and they would be due in May. And we would award a, whatever you call it, in June of 2024. That's the timeline that's in mind right now.
And that construction would start in 2025?
Construction closing is projected in the PowerPoint that we offered for fall 2025.
Yep.
So it's a long
That's
time before anything's going to be
construction's,
built, yeah.
Right.
Usually, right at closing, the work trailer
Begins.
goes right out because,
So in 2026, people could be living there,
Yeah.
but not before then. And I don't think there's any way we're going to push that forward at all.
Oh,
as far as
no,
that
it's a
I-
heavy lift. It's a real heavy lift.
But I don't see any reason why it would necessarily slip a whole lot either, you know? And,
I think the community resistance is formidable, to be honest.
formidable, in what way?
I mean, they
This
show
is
up at meetings, they
duplication.
make their points sort of
Is
semi-cogently,
that the same thing?
and, you know, they are going to continue to show up at meetings,
I know that.
and they will drive the Board of Selectmen completely up a tree.
Selectmen, that's
This
okay.
is-
that's their job.
That is their job. Oh, I couldn't agree
Listen, it
more.
is- That's not what this is about.
Town-owned
This
land,
is
that says
about
town-owned land.
the Yarmouth Housing Authority controlling a piece of property and fulfilling the mission that it's been given to create
Yes.
okay.
Yeah?
It's not about who's being driven up the wall. That's not what it's about.
Well, I'm
It's
saying
about
that the
whether-
resistance is there.
But that's not what the project's about. The project is about seeing if this can be done in a proper way that fulfills all the requirements of the state to make a good project. It's not about anything other than that.
It's
all.
also us saying we think we can deliver it in this time frame.
We're not delivering it.
And
yeah.
we, you know, we really need to assess that because, I mean, I'm not influencing it, you are. And
bit.
there's a bunch of people who are resisting.
Right?
So the likelihood of making that date gets further and further out.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's probably gonna happen.
I would think so,
It's gonna happen.
unless
It's
it
just a
turns
matter of how
out
much
that,
needs to be accommodated and,
unless it turns out that it doesn't, that you can't build something there according to the engineer, according to all the engineering and health and water requirements that the state has. If all those things are met properly, I don't see why it can't be built, you know? It's not about how people feel, it's about whether their objections stand up to that test or not.
It's also about whether or not they can gin up a legitimate issue.
Legitimate means.
Okay, but they're still ginning it up and we aren't gonna know about it. We're trying to push it forward to meet our goals for 45 units. I bet you, you know, if I were on the other side, I'd be trying to cut it in half. 22 units.
Well, all those things are up, right.
it's already been
We'll
reduced.
see, we'll see.
Yeah. Let's move on past
Yeah,
this.
right.
Okay,
That's my report on the Housing Authority's
excellent
project.
report, Drew.
So we can cross that off our agenda. right?
Yes.
Onward.
I think in the future, maybe not anymore tonight, because tonight,
Yes, it's
I
getting
think
late.
we've discussed this at length, but I think we need to consider how, if it should be in the report at all, and how it should be in there.
Yeah, how it should be is a really good way to think
It's a
about it,
wonderful
I think.
sideways maneuver. Excellent.
Well, I think we need to do something.
Excellent.
Thank you. Bringing up
Yes,
this
many
issue.
thanks.
But try not to respond to people worried about being sneaky by actually being sneaky.
Exactly.
Be clear, be open. And then if they're accusing you of being sneaky, you can say, no, we're not being sneaky.
Yeah.
We really aren't.
Yeah. No, that's to be direct.
We've got some reports that we would like to address.
Yep.
Okay, the chair's report for CHAPA is non-existent. Sorry about that.
I do want to say I went to the meeting.
Oh,
CHAPA is spending a lot of time on model bylaws and guidance regarding MBTA communities,
Okay,
the Housing Choice Act.
Transit-oriented design,
Yeah.
yep.
So deadlines for municipalities to comply is coming up. Yarmouth is not
Yeah.
an MBTA community. But anyways, that's what CHAPA is really working hard on. They lost their lobbyist, that guy Eric.
Yeah,
I
Eric.
forget his last name. But, you know, they had been pushing for a healthy budget for housing. I think they feel they got that. But what's going on with other legislation, they didn't have a report.
Yeah. And though it was an excellent meeting with Home Consortium, I did not write up my minutes for this meeting, so I'm going to have to send them to you. I apologize.
We did get their draft end-of-year report, the CAPER,
Yes.
and comments are due September 25th.
Yeah,
The virtual meeting on that is September 19th.
Yeah.
And you can make comments there. I'm suggesting that you authorize the chair and staff to write, submit comments, kind of thanking them for all their support for Yarmouth Gardens.
okay.
Not only their original allocation, but their emergency allocation when COVID inflation hit.
I would, do you want to make a motion on that and a vote, or?
Yeah.
I motion that we vote on authorizing the chair and staff to thank the Home Consortium for the support for, can't remember what else you said.
Yeah, for their financial support for Yarmouth Gardens and their emergency increase in award due to COVID inflation.
Well, I make that motion.
Second?
And a vote. Marcia?
Aye.
Myra?
Lee, aye.
Lee says, Lorraine, yes. Drew?
aye.
All right, unanimous. We like it.
I'm just writing it down.
I think we've beaten Yarmouth Housing Authority to death, so we should move on to Affordable Housing Trust.
Could I just go back to one thing on the Home Consortium? They got a substantial amount of money from the
Yeah.
feds.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where that's going, what's happening with that.
Well, I'd like to fill you in my minutes, Will.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
They
It's a
did.
hunk
they-
of money, you're
yeah, they
right.
got,
Big hunk
they,
of money.
they're increasing, I think what they're doing is they're increasing their allocation per project. Remember they were capping it at 150,000, Lee?
Yeah, but I think that some of the requirements in this some of the funding, some of this funding had very different requirements.
And they got a huge grant to help coordinate the development of a regional housing office.
Okay. All right,
So
well,
they hired Judy Barrett Group,
Yep.
the ladies that were at that ran the Housing Authority meeting on
Right.
Forest Road. They've
Right.
been hired by the Home Consortium to help develop a regional housing office. And it's like a 3-year, I think it's a 3-year process. So they convened staff and people who work in the field. What exactly do you want? Do you want help with deed writers? Do you want help with lotteries? Do you want help with this, that, or the other thing? And they're compiling all that information.
well, wait a minute, just let me shut my phone off. My son wants me to go to the museum tomorrow with him tomorrow. Sorry.
Good.
You know, I have a watch that beeps at me and tells me, you need to walk. You need to get up.
So are we all set here? Planning Board, any comments from them that we know of?
Still working on ADUs.
Okay.
I think the Affordable Housing Trust has a small report, but it was back in the middle of July, and I quite honestly don't remember anything other than what was on the agenda. If Mary has something she can report for me, that would be great.
Yeah, the big thing was that Sand Dollar did put in an application to the trust for pre-development funds. The maximum award is 40,000. They put in a request for 43,000, and the trust meets next on September 5th to review that.
Onward. Department of Community Development, Mary?
Community Preservation Committee.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's me, and they haven't met, and I'm not on the committee until I get approved, and it goes back to them, so,
Applications for funding are due
yeah, they did send
September
out the
25th
RFPs.
or something like that. And so I put the application out to all of our housing partnerships region-wide. I think that Hetch might apply for another round of funding for homeownership rehab. I don't think we're going to get any additional requests for money for like a rental assistance program. And then the trust will probably put in an application for $200,000.
Well, you know that because we, what's the term they use, to bonded
Yes.
a lot of money, there's not gonna be as much money available,
Right.
so. When I joined that committee and I was in the middle of this big project, I had no idea what I was getting into. We would be meeting
It is.
once a week.
It's-
Once a week and
Yeah.
taking home a pack of applications, going, I didn't have a clue.
Oh, and then from the department, in your packet is the press release from Bob Rittenhour
Right.
regarding,
Emergency housing of,
proposed homeless migrant family shelter in West Yarmouth. So that was a press release that went out, and I thanked Bob Rittenhour for that.
Yes.
Um,
Does the committee need to thank him as well?
I'll let him know.
Thank you.
I
Looking
think,
for my copy.
just like on the federal level, there's FEMA.
Yeah.
On the state level, there's MEMA.
Yep.
So, hopefully MEMA is getting, activated to assist. I think one of the concerns is the sheer number of households coming into one location. So.
With so little, I
But-
mean, the fact is they are coming with very little.
Right, so we want to, we're hoping that, I'm hoping that, this state comes up with resources for this. I think it would be very taxing for our local, non-NGOs, if I call them that, but anyways, more information has been requested from the state, and I'm sure we'll get that soon. We also have our open space rec plan, is available. And the planning board on September 6th at 5:30, the planning board is having a presentation. I hope that you can all go.
Okay.
Reason being is that it's one of those competing needs in town, right? Is open space versus residential development. So they do mention in the plan what Chapter 40B is, so it's on their radar, this kind of like competing use for land in town. They recommend that there should be redevelopment. Redevelopment should be prioritized over green development. You won't be meeting again before the comments are due. The comments are due on September 13th. So if that's something you want to comment on, you might want to comment individually. Or Lorraine, you could say, I'm the chair, and you know what I'm saying, but That's what I have to say about the open space and recreation plan. Please go and comment how you feel. They'd love people to
I will.
come. They would love people to come.
I'm gonna do it.
More trees, less people.
Well, you know, you might want to say, like, the last time we commented on a site, we wanted them to save the trees.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
maybe
it's
the town needs
true.
a tree bylaw. You
Yeah.
know, or,
Can't find that. Is that, do I have a flyer on that or something?
yeah,
Yeah, it looks like this. I
Oh.
found it in my
yeah,
packet.
you can pass that down.
Here you go, babe.
I probably have it somewhere. We can see it, though.
And then the last, let's see, and then my CDBG public hearing is September 7th. You can zoom in on that. I'll send that to you guys out again.
Yes,
That's September
please,
7th.
yeah.
Drew usually comes to that. That's lots of fun. And then we have there are 4 single-family homes available by lottery on Sam Turner Road in Falmouth. And the application deadline is October 16th, and that's being held, the Housing Assistance Corporation and the Falmouth Housing Trust is doing the lottery for that. Oh, and we've been invited by the Harwich Conservation Trust and the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust for an event on September 27th at 2 p.m., considering the intersection of conservation and affordable housing.
Ooh,
Intersection, for some reason that seems very hip.
And Bob Spencer is the man who invited us.
yeah.
And it's going to feature Bob Wilbur, who's the Director of Conservation Services for the state.
Sounds really cool.
Ooh,
And I think he works.
Say limited seating or something, make a reservation.
Right. But that's the whole, like, we were just talking about that with the open space plan. Here it is, right, so. And by the way, the open space plan is really good. It's, I don't know if you've read it.
That was an ad hoc committee?
They did an ad hoc
Yeah,
committee,
yeah, they did
and
a
they
lot of
hired a
work on that.
consultant, and it's really, really, really good. I won't be able to attend, but it might be good for some housing people to be in the
I'm
room.
definitely gonna try to be there. That interests
You
me
know, you
quite a
might want to
bit.
say, yeah, we advocate for the preservation of trees, you know, and that kind of stuff, so.
And the Forest Hill people say, what? You want to take it? Well, we're not cutting them down,
Well,
but
they would just make statements, you know, they say,
Yeah.
well, not, so obviously every tree will be cut down, right? No,
I
not
think we have
necessarily.
quite an emphasis on redevelopment, you know, as opposed
Yeah.
to going into a greenfield. We prefer a gray field. It's in the plan.
It is in the plan. Yep. So that's my update from the Department of Community Development.
moving right along.
is there more? Oh, my
No,
word.
it's time to adjourn.
Okay.
Yeah, September 11th might be a bad day for me.
Okay,
Um,
I'm not loving it myself.
Okay. I don't know what your schedule is for the next Monday, September 18th, but we would have to meet at 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Better for me,
Okay.
better for me. Any time in the middle of the day is better for me.
I'm not sure I can do 1 or 2, but
Well, I'll do a poll, and my mother is in town.
Okay, we understand.
I know.
We all know what that's
Mom
like.
needs a ride here, there, and everywhere.
Yep,
So, Mom used to live in Falmouth, and they're doing Mom used to do a lot of fundraisers for different groups, and they're doing this big fundraiser, and they've invited Mom back for the trip.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Gotta go.
where's your mom live now?
The Bronx.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Go, Mom.
I've been to the Botanical Gardens. Next time I'm going to the zoo. So there's some
Nice.
benefits to that.
yeah.
We usually hit a Broadway show too. And then working groups, we usually meet on Fridays. Do you want to try a week from this Friday?
And that would be,
Uh,
8 and
8th?
September.
8th?
Yep. Yep, we can do that.
Well, I'll be away.
September 8th at 2 PM, we do housing production,
2 PM, yep, housing production.
and then 3 PM. Is that how we do it? Or do we do?
That's how you've been doing it, yeah.
Okay, and then at 3 PM, we do outreach and education, or we do it the opposite?
I think it was the
It has
opposite.
been the opposite,
It's
but it
opposite.
doesn't matter, really.
It
Okay.
doesn't really
It's
matter.
sort of all,
We're moving on, yep.
I
Guys,
keep showing
wanna-
up at 3 as if it's a really cut and dried thing, but it doesn't seem that cut and dried in practice.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep it as is, 2 PM outreach and education,
Yep,
and 3 PM housing production.
yep.
When I just thought I could get involved more, I'm gonna be away on that
What
day.
date was that?
Friday, September 8th.
The 8th at
That
2
is the,
PM.
that is the great DY 50th class reunion weekend.
Whoa.
Can't commit.
Oh, okay, you want to do the next Friday?
I think so.
September 15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
50th reunion, huh?
Yeah.
I've been to one of those.
Okay, we need to adjourn.
Okay.
The chair will entertain a motion.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Excellent. Second? Excellent. Drew?
Aye.
Ah, Lorraine, aye. Lee?
Aye.
Ha-ha.
Myra?
Myra.
Marcia, aye.
All right. We are adjourned. It
Okay,
is
Thank you.
4:50.